If we don't get Samuel Jackson calling Billy the Puppet a motherfucker, we boycott this movie. What was the point? Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris. The trailer for the new Saw movie has arrived online, entitled Spiral from the Book of Saw. What I'm going to be doing here for you guys is breaking down things you might have missed in this trailer, explaining you where this movie fits in the Saw franchise. But I need you guys to leave me your thoughts down below of what you thought of this trailer. Does it bring you back into the Saw franchise? And leave a like if Saw has your money once again. Alright, so getting into this trailer, we open up with Chris Rock, who is the main reason this movie is even happening at all. If you didn't know, Chris Rock, turns out, is a big fan of the Saw franchise. So much, in fact, that he had an idea for a new movie, pitched it to Lionsgate, and now we have this film. He's going to be playing a cop in this movie who investigates the first Saw case in a long time. Before diving deeper into this trailer and what the clues for what it might mean, it's important for you to know where this Saw movie fits in the entire franchise. It's been confirmed that this movie Spiral does take place in the Saw universe, and all the other movies previous to it, including Jigsaw, have happened. But even with that said, don't expect it to be heavily influenced by every single movie in that franchise, and you as a newcomer don't feel obligated to have to watch all the previous 8 movies. The studio is hesitant to call this a Saw reboot. Instead, they're marketing this as a spin-off to the Saw franchise, which is why they went with the title Spiral, which is an iconic symbol in the Saw franchise based off the spirals on Billy's face. The trailer quickly picks up after Chris Rock receives a distress signal to the first victim in a long time, giving us our first trap in this Saw spin-off. Pretty obvious that this was a situation in where a victim was tied down to the railroad, was probably given a limited amount of time to do a certain task before the subway car just went ahead and rammed him. But it's not until the next victim in this trailer where we really get to discover what is happening in this Saw universe. We have a victim who must have had a trap inside a car, which would not be the first time in Saw franchise where a trap was held in a vehicle. We had lead singer of Linkin Park, Chester Bennington, God rest his soul, in a Saw trap for one of the later Saw movies. Who knows if this will be a callback to that, but we do get our first calling card of the new Saw killer in this movie. Sorry to disappoint a lot of you fans, but it has been confirmed that Tobin Bell will not be returning for this installment. He has nothing to do with this sequel, and whoever is setting up all these traps, whether it be multiple people or just one person, expect it to be a completely brand new character that isn't heavily connected to previous Saw movies. The reason I say that is because it's a reason this movie is a spin-off entitled Spiral and not Saw 9. It's definitely meant to be almost a clean slate, start off fresh, and welcome new audience members who have probably never seen a Saw movie. But the line you might have missed is Chris Rock saying that this new person is targeting only cops. That distinction that they're going after cops instead of regular people is significant of a different motive from the original Jigsaw. Original John Kramer's motive for capturing victims and putting them in a Saw trap was the fact that these people were abusing their own lives, were people who were taking advantage of their situation, not appreciating what they have, or in some cases just being real scumbag criminals, in where Jigsaw would kidnap them, put them in a trap, hoping that they would reevaluate their life and see how precious it is, giving them a second coming and hopefully changing for the best. Whoever is this Jigsaw killer is always supposed to be a sort of anti-hero, so I have to assume that all these cops might have been dirty cops or cops who were abusing their power. That would make sense with today's political climate on going after something like that. But nonetheless, cops in the Saw franchise have been a big part of it. Almost every Saw movie deals with a cop trying to go after Jigsaw. Heck, there's even been some cops who turned the tide and were on Jigsaw's side, which would explain why Chris Rock would eventually show up in one of the traps in this movie, and gives us further detail about another significant character, Samuel Jackson, in this movie. Now, Samuel Jackson will be playing the father of Chris Rock in this movie, and most likely will be caught in a trap with Chris Rock, making him a retired cop. It's pretty obvious to tell that this guy is either some sort of police officer or a retired police officer by the way he handles himself and walks with the gun. But before we get to see what Samuel Jackson is investigating, we cut to Chris Rock receiving a package at the police station. Not quite sure if this package is intended for Chris Rock's character or just the police station in general. Jigsaw, whenever it was John Kramer behind the pig mask, was always strategic in what he let the cops know about what he was doing, leading them on a breadcrumb that that was probably way off the path, but enlightening to what he was trying to do. I actually wouldn't be surprised if there's an organ inside that box. The working title for this Saw movie was The Organ Donor. A lot of us thought that would mean that when Chris Rock was put in a Saw situation, he would have to donate one of his organs. Instead, it looks like this new Jigsaw is donating out organs to the cops of victims who haven't survived their game. So it looks like taking an organ or leaving a spiral symbol behind is the new calling card for this Jigsaw, when in the past it was just a puzzle piece carved out from the body of the victim. Some quick shots here. We have Chris Rock visiting a church. With the way these people are lined up, it looks almost like a support group. These may be victims who have survived the games of the latest Jigsaw, or might have been survivors of OG John Kramer's game, and now Chris Rock is wanting to talk to them to be like, look, what was it like? How can I help these other people in danger? That would be amazing to get scenes of victims we never knew and what games they were in. It would also be a great way to tie in the Saw franchise by giving us characters who were victims of Jigsaw that we never knew. We also have looks like what's obviously Chris Rock under that mask. Most likely this is an undercover mission from the police. I think this will actually be an opening scene in the movie and not really the kidnappers working with Jigsaw, because we know they like to wear pig masks when they go ahead and do their kidnapping for their victims. Now we do get a quick shot of that victim who was most likely trapped in the subway on the railroad. From the way he is standing up, it looks like he might have gotten out of his situation, but did not move quick enough and the train still hits him. One big thing you might have missed though is on this wall filled with spirals, it's actually a very familiar wall we've seen before, indicating that we will get familiar locations from previous Saw movies in where most of the victims were held captive. Honestly, this isn't a surprise to me. Of course, we were going to get these types of locations in the Saw movie. If I had to put any money on it, we're definitely getting to see that bathroom one more time. Even some of these walkways where Samuel L. Jackson is investigating looks heavily reminiscent to some of the rooms in previous Saw movies. I think it's also important to notice the very distinct look in the two scenes between Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. They're almost color graded a different, where Chris Rock scenes are lit up in an orange hue and Samuel L. Jackson scenes have this sort of blue tint to them. I would not be surprised if we're watching two stories we think are happening at the same time, only to find out by the end they were happening in different time periods the entire time. This has happened multiple times, whether it be in Saw 2, Saw 3, even the latest Jigsaw tried to pull off that sort of twist. It's kind of been done to death and I hope they don't do something like that. Closing it off with what looks to be an original trap for this Saw spin-off film. At first glance, a lot of us might have thought that this was the reverse bear trap, but looking closer at the head, it doesn't have the compartments needed to go ahead and rip your jaw wide open. It looks like there's definitely something in the mouth, so this could be a modified bear trap, but you mostly have to look at the fingers in there, a device that is ripping apart the fingers from the user. I'm still hoping that this Jigsaw gives them an opportunity to survive their trap. One thing I hated as the Saw movies continued on, there was no way for anybody to survive their trap. That's kind of the fun of these Saw movies, that there's that sliver of hope that you can make it out. It's really horrible what you got to do to make it out, but there is a chance for you to survive. If we're just watching people that have no way of surviving, then it's really just for the gore factor and the suspense is ruined because we know they're not going to make it. With everything going on in this trailer and what they've hinted at us, there's only a few possibilities to what could be going on. Possibility number one, Samuel L. Jackson being a retired cop or a cop who's been in the game for a long time most likely has something to do with an OG Jigsaw case. And whatever that case was, looks like it's going to be coming back to haunt him in this movie along with his son, who is being put to the test in the same way previous victims were, in having to cut off one of their limbs with a saw in order to survive. Also in the title, Spiral from the Book of Saw could imply that the teachings of Jigsaw have gone into a cult following. I like to think that Book of Saw is more literal and John Kramer left behind a book of all his traps and teachings and lessons, and one of his survivors from a previous game got enlightened and decided to continue on the tradition now that John Kramer is no longer alive. However, it could easily just be a copycat who strongly believes in the ways of John Kramer and is continuing on the Jigsaw games. films. But this trailer really did do it for me. I love the tone of this. It feels more in line with the first 3 Saw movies before they got extremely campy and ridiculous by the end. That's what I absolutely love about this franchise. Not only is that music so reminiscent, creepy, and fun, but it's the theories, the breaking down the clues, the examining what the movie's showing us, and trying to predict that crazy twist that you know this movie's gonna have. Let me know what you guys thought about the trailer for Spiral, the Book of Saw. What did you catch that I might have missed? And I definitely want to hear your theories on this. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Film Review. As always, I'm Chris. Take care.